after you've accepted a contract and we've opened escrow, things are going to move pretty quickly for the first week or so and then probably slow down a bit, and that is very normal. The very first thing that's going to happen is within 3 days, the buyer does need to submit a pre-approval, proof of funds for their deposit, and also the earnest money deposit. What that is, we haven't covered it yet, is it is a pool of money that you, the seller, can go after the buyer for if they breach contract and cause damages to you. It is negotiable. It's typically between 1% and 3% of the purchase price. Within 7 days, we do need to provide the disclosures to the buyer. So we need to give them all the material facts about the property. That's going to be a property questionnaire, natural hazards, floods, fire, any HOA documents. All of that has to be provided to the buyer. The next thing that's going to happen is the buyer is going to want inspections, most likely. The inspector will come out, takes about 3 hours, and their job is to find everything wrong with the property. They do work for the buyer, and even if you are in a brand new home, they are going to find problems with the home. So they test every light switch, they test every outlet, they test every sink, every toilet, and their job, again, is to find everything wrong with the property. So don't be alarmed. Their reports are 60, 80 pages long. They are very thorough, but that is their job, to find everything that could dissuade the buyer from buying the property. The next person that's going to come out is the appraiser. The appraiser does work for the bank, and their job is to make sure that the bank is making a good loan. The bank doesn't want to be loaning $700,000 on a property that's only worth $600,000. So the appraiser's job is to look at the comps, which we've looked at in the past. It's to look at the property itself to determine the value of the property. And then the next thing that's going to happen most likely is we're going to wait a while. We do have a loan contingency coming up, typically at 21 days. And that's going to be the last one. That's kind of the last big hurdle to jump over. One last thing I do want to cover, just what is a contingency? A contingency is basically a way that the buyer can back out of the contract without it being a breach of the contract. So let's say, for instance, they get their inspection, they have a 17-day inspection period, and there is a problem with the roof. The roof's going to need $20,000 worth of work. You don't want to pay for it, they don't want to pay for it. They have the option to back out of the contract. They don't have to go ahead with the purchase if there is something they find that they don't like about the property. Now, they can use the inspection, they could do anything. It could be they don't like a $10 fix. They want to get out of the contract, they have the right to do that. And you cannot go after the earnest money deposit at that point. However, once a buyer releases a contingency, they can no longer use that as an excuse not to move forward in the contract. So, for instance, if the buyer releases their inspection contingency, they can't later come and say, hey, you didn't, we don't like the color of the paint inside the house, so we're not going to buy the property. That would be a breach of contract, in which case you could go after the earnest money deposit. That is it for escrow. The next step is just all the loan documents getting done. It does take time. It's a process at the bank. There's a lot of paperwork, there's a lot of money involved. So it does take time. There's a lot of people involved in this. But it is just a lot of hurry up and wait. Don't be alarmed by that. That's just the way the process is. It can be very stressful for people, but know that that is normal.